Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to completely shift how you view true success. You know, we live in this world where absolutely everyone seems to be shouting for attention, right? Constantly broadcasting every single tiny win online. But what if I told you that the people who are truly winning the game of life are doing it in absolute total silence? Today, we are decoding the secret psychology of winning without showing off.
So, who is the quietest person in the room? I want you to just picture someone for a second. We've all met someone who seems, well, incredibly ordinary. They wear simple, unbranded clothes. They probably drive an older, super reliable car. And in almost any social setting, they are literally the quietest person in the room. They never brag. They definitely never try to be the center of attention. And you will absolutely never catch them posting their daily hustle on Instagram.
But here's the twist. They might actually be a secret multi-million-dollar. Seriously. You might suddenly discover they've achieved a life goal so massive, it just leaves you totally speechless. We like to call this special group of people the invisible winners. Think about those amazing true stories that pop up in the news every now and then, like the humble walking janitor who lived super simply, and everyone assumed he was barely scraping by. But then, when he passes away, it turns out he secretly left millions of dollars to charity. He was actually far wealthier than the guys speeding past him in Ferraris every morning. Section 1. Ripping up society's script. Let's look at how these quiet winners completely reject the standard expectations handed down to us from birth. To really understand how these quiet winners succeed, we've got to look at the script society literally hands us on day one. 1. Study hard. 2. Get a safe job. 3. Get married. 4. Buy a big house. And 5. Spend the rest of your life paying for it. It's presented as this perfect, one-size-fits-all suit that we're all expected to just put on and wear with a smile. But invisible winners, they don't just tweak these rules, they completely reject them. They recognize this script for what it usually is, a trap that leads straight to a life of quiet desperation. So instead of following those steps blindly, they do something entirely different. They pivot to what psychologists call micromotives, basically finding the small, quiet things that actually bring you genuine happiness, completely regardless of what the neighbors think about it. Maybe it's passionately pursuing a low-paying hobby simply because it brings you profound peace. Or maybe it's starting a business, but keeping it intentionally small just so you have the freedom to spend every single afternoon hanging out with your kids. So, how many of your goals are actually yours? I want to challenge you directly right now to think about that. How many things are you chasing just so other people will think you're successful? Are you chasing real happiness or just a verified badge of approval from society? Quiet winners have figured out that the exact moment you stop doing things just for the applause is the moment you actually start winning. Section 2, the illusion of respect. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive psychological paradigm shift regarding status symbols. This shift changes everything we think we know about showing off our success. It's called the man in the car paradox, and invisible winners get this perfectly. Look at what the driver thinks versus the pedestrian. Most people drop, say, $200,000 on a luxury car because of that thought on the left. If I drive this, people will think I'm cool. They're going to respect me. But here is the brutal reality of the thought on the right. When you drive that fancy car down the street, pedestrians aren't looking at you. They're looking at the car, thinking, man, imagine if I was in that car. I would look so cool. They aren't giving you an ounce of respect. They're just using your expensive car as a shiny backdrop for their own fantasies. So you spent all that money, took on all that debt and stress, specifically to buy respect. And you didn't get any. You just provided a free show for strangers, constantly working yourself to the bone to maintain this wealthy image for people who literally do not care about you. That actually makes you a prisoner to their validation. To break out of that validation prison, quiet winners use a brilliant strategy called stealth wealth. Utilizing highly reliable but definitely not flashy cars and wearing high-quality clothing that is completely free of those massive loud logos. Why do they do this? Because they know that true value and security are internal. If your self-worth depends on how a random stranger on the street looks at you, you are trapped. Stealth wealth maintains your hidden security. It's about genuine peace of mind rather than screaming for attention. Section 3, the power of quiet ambition. Let's shift gears away from the loud, chaotic world of 100-hour work weeks and screaming bosses to a much healthier way of success. When we normally think of ambition, we picture someone aggressively stepping over everyone else just to climb the corporate ladder, right? Well, quiet ambition is entirely different. It's about chasing a sustainable work-life rhythm. It's about mastering your craft on your very own terms, instead of agonizing over fancy job titles or trying to get famous in your industry. These folks don't have this burning desire to be the boss of everyone else in the building. They simply want to be the boss of their own time. And to pull this off, they use their absolute ultimate superpower, the unexplained no. Think about normal people for a second. When someone invites you to an event you really don't want to go to, what do? You spend 10 minutes inventing these wild, elaborate excuses. You're like, oh, I'd absolutely love to, but, my cat is sick and my car is making a weird noise and I have a crazy headache. Quiet winners? They skip the excuses entirely. They protect their time and energy like it's literal gold. They never feel the need to justify their personal boundaries because they're intensely focused on their own path. And keep in mind, this isn't about being rude. It's about being highly intentional. Which brings us to this absolute mic drop of a quote. No is a complete sentence. Man, that brilliantly illustrates their whole mindset right there. It represents the quiet winner's unparalleled ability to just block out the overwhelming noise and endless demands of the world without feeling even a single shred of guilt. Section 4, the ultimate flex, time autonomy. Let's redefine what it actually means to win at life. If we completely strip away the luxury cars, the big houses, and the social media followers, we are left with the ultimate flex in the modern world, time autonomy. This is it. The highest possible level of success. It's the ability to wake up in the morning, stare up at the ceiling, and honestly be able to say, I can do whatever I want today. It means being totally debt-free. It means not being controlled by a terrible boss. It is the pure, unfiltered freedom to go grab a coffee, sit in the park, and read a book on a Tuesday afternoon without having to ask a single person for permission. So the crucial point is summarized perfectly right here. You can have $1 billion, but if you have zero control over your time, you are just a rich slave. Think about that stark reality for a second. You could have $1 billion sitting in the bank, but if you have absolutely zero control over your own schedule, your time, or your energy, you're still poor. You're just a wealthy slave to your obligations. Real wealth, true wealth, is having agency over your own existence. And ultimately, that is the core philosophy of the invisible winner. A beautiful life feels incredibly good on the inside. It doesn't just look impressive from the outside. Quiet winners simply do not care if the world isn't clapping for them because they are entirely too busy actually enjoying the peace and quiet of their success. They've found their rhythm. They don't need an audience to validate the whole shebang. Which leaves us with a really critical question to end this explainer. Are you ready to stop performing for the crowd and start winning for yourself? Take a really hard look at the path you're walking right now. Are you drawn to the peace of stealth wealth? Or are you still caught up in that exhausting cycle of public success? The choice is entirely up to you. But remember, the most profound victories in life are often the ones nobody else even knows about. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and go start winning your own way.